You are watching Samevan News.
June 12, 2025. The city of Ahmedabad wakes to a humid summer morning, the airport bustling with travelers, families saying their goodbyes, and the anticipation of journeys about to begin. The air is thick with the usual sounds: rolling suitcases, boarding calls, and the distant roar of jet engines. Air India flight AI-171, a gleaming Boeing 787 Dreamliner, taxis onto the runway. With a surge of power, it lifts off from Ahmedabad, climbing into the sky. But then, just as the city below begins to shrink from view, a sudden, chilling silence replaces the familiar roar of the engines. Moments after takeoff, chaos erupts in the cockpit. A desperate call crackles over the radio. "No thrust! No thrust!" The Dreamliner's engines, the pride of modern aviation, have failed without warning. Air traffic controllers and airline staff scramble, their faces etched with fear and disbelief. In just 34 seconds, the unthinkable happens. The powerless plane plunges from the sky, crashing into a student hostel near the airport. Flames erupt instantly, thick black smoke billowing into the morning air as terrified students flee for their lives. 270 lives, passengers, crew, and students, are lost in an instant. Emergency workers rush to the scene, but the devastation is overwhelming. Grieving families gather outside the airport, desperate for news, as the world watches in shock. This was the first fatal crash of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, a jet once celebrated for its cutting-edge technology and impeccable safety record. The aviation world is stunned. How could such a tragedy befall an aircraft designed to be one of the safest ever built? The world demanded answers. How could a state-of-the-art aircraft, trusted by millions, simply fall from the sky without warning? Press conferences are held, journalists swarm the scene, and public vigils are organized to honor the victims. As investigators comb through the wreckage, searching for any clue that might explain the disaster, one crucial piece of evidence has already surfaced, offering the first glimpse into what really happened that fateful morning. The first breakthrough didn't come from officials, but from a teenager's smartphone. Aryan, filming from his window, captured a small propeller deploying from the plane's belly, the ram Air Turbine, or RAT. The RAT only appears when both engines fail, turning a jet into a powerless glider. Aryan's video went viral, shifting blame from pilot error to a catastrophic systems failure. The footage confirmed the pilot's final words: the engines were dead, the plane powerless. Investigators now focused on what could cause a total electrical collapse in a modern jet. The truth was out, thanks to a chance recording. Then, a whistleblower spoke up. From across the ocean, a voice emerged that would shake the very foundations of the aviation industry. It was a voice that refused to be silenced, even in the face of immense pressure and risk. Cynthia Kitchens, a former Boeing quality manager, revealed Boeing had knowingly shipped defective Dreamliners to India. She had witnessed firsthand the troubling decisions made behind closed doors, decisions that put profit and deadlines above the lives of passengers. Her revelations painted a disturbing picture of what was happening inside one of the world's most trusted aircraft manufacturers. She described a culture where safety was sacrificed for speed and flaws were covered up. Workers were pushed to meet impossible targets, corners were cut, and anyone who raised concerns was ignored or sidelined. The pressure to deliver planes quickly overshadowed the responsibility to ensure they were safe. Her boss allegedly said, "None are staying in America," implying risky planes were sent abroad. This chilling statement suggested that the company was willing to gamble with the safety of passengers in other countries, as long as the consequences didn't land at home. Kitchen's testimony linked the crash to corporate negligence, not just a freak accident. She argued that the tragedy was the result of systemic failures, not a one-off mistake. Her words forced investigators and the public to reconsider what had really happened. The tragedy echoed Boeing's past, like the 737 MAX disasters, suggesting lessons hadn't been learned. The same patterns of denial, deflection, and disregard for safety seemed to repeat, raising urgent questions about accountability and change. Her warning forced the world to confront a global pattern of profit over safety. The scandal was no longer just about one company or one country. It was about an industry-wide crisis that demanded international attention and reform. The crash was no longer just an Indian tragedy. It was a global reckoning, a wake-up call for regulators, airlines, and passengers everywhere. The world was watching, and the demand for answers and for justice had never been louder. Passengers noticed problems before boarding: broken screens, no air conditioning. Complaints were dismissed as minor glitches, but these were signs of deeper electrical issues. The crew, under pressure, ignored warnings and took off anyway, a fatal decision. Later, investigators found falsified maintenance records and safety checks signed off without real inspections. The system had failed at every level: passengers, crew, maintenance, and management. Trust was broken, replaced by a culture of shortcuts and cover-ups. The tragedy wasn't born in seconds. It was built over months of neglect. On paper, the plane was safe. In reality, it was doomed. The crash of AI-171 was not a random tragedy, but the devastating result of years of systemic negligence and overlooked warnings. It wasn't a single error or a momentary lapse. It was a chain of ignored red flags, a culture that prioritized profit and speed over the lives of passengers and crew. Boeing's troubled history, marked by battery fires, the infamous 737 MAX crashes, and repeated safety lapses, reveals a disturbing pattern of broken promises and missed opportunities to make things right. Each incident was a warning, but too often, those warnings were dismissed or downplayed. 270 lives were lost that day. Students with dreams, families with futures, dedicated crew members. These were not just numbers or statistics. They were people with stories, hopes, and loved ones left behind to grieve. True justice demands more than words. It requires real accountability from the executives who made the decisions, the airlines that cut corners, and the regulators who failed to enforce safety standards. Each played a role in letting safety slip through the cracks. The greatest danger now is silence. When corporate PR and legal maneuvering threaten to bury the truth, and the lessons of AI-171 risk being forgotten in the noise of denial and distraction. We owe the victims and their families so much more. Transparency in every investigation, meaningful reform in aviation safety, and a renewed commitment to protecting every life that boards a plane. The story of AI-171 must be told and retold, not just as a warning, but as a demand for change until the industry listens and real progress is made. The silence after the roar of tragedy must become a powerful call for justice, a call that echoes until it can no longer be ignored and until every flight is truly safe.